Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this video for solving rational equations. Now, I've had a video about this before in solving linear equations, where I did solve some rationals in there, but after lots of requests, I decided to make a singular video showing how to solve ones with fractions. So we're going to step up the difficulty as we go on. I'm going to show you the many different types of rational equations and what you would do accordingly. So let's get started. So in the first example here, we have x over 5 is equal to 3. When you're solving this type of question, any fraction question, the first thing you want to do is get rid of the fraction. Okay, of the fraction. Now, a fraction at the end of the day is essentially division. And to get rid of something, just like you learned in the solving linear equations video, you're always doing the opposite operation. So what's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So I would multiply both sides by what we call the lowest common multiple. In this case, it's very easy. There's only one fraction, which is 5, which means I multiply both sides by 5. By doing this, the 5's on my left side are going to cancel out. And that's going to leave me with x. And it'll be equal to 3 times 5, which is 15. X is completely by itself, hence x is 15. So as you can see, this one only has one step. Now, in questions like B and C work the same way like cross multiplication. So what you want to do here is you're always going to be multiplying the bottom left denominator by the top right, and then the bottom right by the top left. Okay? So your first step here is to cross multiply. And when you do that, you're going to get 3 times 10 and x times 15. Okay? 3 times 10 is 30, and x times 15 is 15x. Then, of course, don't forget the equal in between them. Now, once more, you're going to have to say to yourself, well, I want to get x by itself, and there's a 15 there. That's multiplying it. The opposite of multiplication is division. How do you get rid of a clingy best friend? You separate. Or you get a divorce, whichever way you want to look at it. All right, so once again, the 15s are going to cancel out, leaving you with the x, and then 30 divided by 15, which is 2. X is by itself, he's happy, x is 2. So using this same strategy, I want you to try to do part C. And I'm going to continue writing the steps here. So obviously you cross multiplied, and then you isolated for x. So at this point, you should probably try to pause the video and try the question out yourself. Okay, so I'm assuming people have paused the video and they're ready for round 2. Let's take a look at C. So once more, remember your first steps. You are going to cross multiply. So it doesn't matter what kind of numbers I give you or how the situation looks like. If it looks like this, where you have a fraction equal to a fraction, these steps work every time. Always cross multiply first. So you're going to get 100 times a, which is 100a, 25 times 52, which is 1,300. Best friends need to get separated. So let's help them out. Let's divide. Hundreds cancel out. You're left with the A. And 1,300 divided by 100 is 13. 1, 2, done. Let's move on. Now, in these type of questions, they're still the same steps. But let's do the first one together so you can see what's the main difference here. And the main difference is with our terms. Here, in our last page, the variable was by itself. In this time, the variable has another term beside it. So when we're starting off with our normal steps, which remember our first step should be cross multiplication, you're going to have 3 multiplied by m minus 3. Notice I put the bracket. I put the bracket because I want to remember this 3 has to multiply both the m and the minus 3. It will have to distribute. And that's equal to 14 times 15. So we still haven't changed our steps. We're still doing cross multiplication first. So no matter what, you always start off with cross multiplication in these type of questions. Okay? Now, 14 times 15, you're going to be getting 210. Okay? Now, in this left-hand side here, you could choose to distribute. That is one way, and then go forward that way. And I'm going to show you how that works in this case, and I'm going to show you how it would work if you did something different. So let's continue on with my distribution. 3m minus 9 is equal to 210. Add 9 to both sides. You'll get 3m is equal to 219. Divide both sides by 3. And you should get m is 73. That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is, let's carry this over here. So 3m minus 3 is equal to 210. Instead of distributing right away, because there is nothing between the 3 and the m minus 3, like there's no addition or subtraction in between them, I can divide right away both sides by 3. Now, for reference, I'm not dividing the bracket by 3. The m minus 3 is safe inside its bracket from the 3. The only thing that's being divided is the 3 on the outside. Okay, and they would cancel out, leaving you with m minus 3 is equal to 70. And then you're going to add 3 to both sides. Remember, the opposite of a negative is a positive. The opposite of a bad situation is a good situation. A negative friend, you need a positive friend. Use any analogy you can think of. So m, in this case, should be 73. Now, when you look at these two methods, we're both going to get the same answer. But with this method, we're solving it in fewer steps. So this would be the more efficient method. I would highly recommend trying this way out. But there is completely nothing wrong with distributing first and going this method. Okay, so as usual, try out the second one yourselves. Okay, I assume people have unpaused now. Great. So let's take a look at what we do. As usual, you're going to cross multiply. Doesn't matter what you do, you always start off with cross multiplication. So you're going to have 16 times 5, that's going to give you 80. And then 4 times x plus 5. Let's go with our second method here, and I'm going to divide both sides by 4 right away. All right, it's going to give you 20. X plus 5. You are going to move the 5 to the other side, and because you're moving a positive 5, you are going to subtract 5 from both sides. So x is 15. Now notice we're only able to do this stuff when you have a fraction equal to a fraction. What would happen when you don't have that situation? Let's look at this next example. All right, so for this next example, you can see that the situation has changed. We do have a fraction, and we do have an equal, but we have something in between the equal and this fraction. So we cannot use cross multiplication. That is a no-no here. What you would do here instead, your first step, would be to find the lowest common multiple, which is the lowest common multiple. Okay. Now, the lowest common multiple, you have to focus on your numbers on the bottom. So in the bottom, I have 2, I have a 4, and I have a 2. So you can list out your factors. So factors of 2 is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. Factors of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, and so on. When I look at these factors, I notice they both have 4. Now, you don't need to do this every time. If you already knew this ahead of time, great, you're ahead of the curve. But for bigger problems, if you are having trouble seeing what is the lowest common multiple, then this is a good strategy to kind of expand upon. So the second I figured out what my lowest common multiple is, so in this case, my LCM is 4, I will multiply everything by 4. Now, when I say everything, I don't mean the bottom. You're multiplying just the top. So you're multiplying the numerators by 4, which is the LCM. Okay, so I multiply u by 4, u by 4. And here's where people make a common mistake. You can't forget this other term here, even though it doesn't have a fraction. You multiply this by 4 still. And this by 4. So when you do that, you're going to have 4 over 2x plus 12 over 4 is equal to 4x minus 4 over 2. All right. This next step is you're essentially just going to simplify and collect your like terms. But before you do that, you notice, well, 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I can just go 2x plus 12 divided by 4, which is 3, is equal to 4x minus 4 divided by 2, which is 2. So your next step, collect like terms. All right, and if we notice, just like before when we were solving equations, we have a x on this side of the bracket and an x on this side of the bracket. You can move them wherever you wish to move them. If you want to make it easy on yourself, always move your x's to the left and your numbers to the right. It's however you wish to do it. So I'm going to move the 4x over here by subtracting it because it's a positive, so opposite is a negative. And I'm going to move this plus 3 to this side by subtracting 3 because we are adding. All right, so that's going to give me negative 2x over here, because that's negative 4x plus 2x. And over here, you're going to get negative 5. Finally, we want to get rid of that clingy best friend, so we're going to divide both sides by negative 2. Now, we're doing a negative divided by a negative here, so that means I'm going to have a positive 5 over 2. And over here, I'm just going to be left over with the x. This is almost done, but remember, we have here a fraction where the top is bigger than the bottom, so we have to turn this into a mixed fraction. So 2, 1 over 2, and that is my final answer. That is fully simplified. So after you collect your like terms, you isolate for x. And these 4 steps work every time. So let's try them out on some more examples. Okay, so you should try to pause the screen and try to do these yourselves. All right, so I assume people have paused and came back. If they haven't, well, I look very silly saying that. It's all right, though. All right, so first step, LCM. My LCM in this case, well, I have a 4, I have a 3, so the LCM would be 12. And you'll see that if you list out your multiples. So I multiply everything by 12. 12, 12, 12. So let's do that. You're going to get 12 times 3, which is 36, over 4, plus 24 over 3 is equal to 24. Then you have 24 divided by 3 is 8. 36 divided by 4 is 9. All right, and then you want to move your stuff around. So I'm going to move the 8 to the other side by subtracting it. All right, so you're going to get 9x is equal to 16. You are going to divide both sides by 9, so you should get 16 over 9, which I can simplify into 1, 7 over 9. Okay. Now, another strategy people could do here is do the tried and true strategy of common denominators, turning these two denominators into the same number. Although that method does take a little bit longer. I'll show you using this question here. But let's start first. So LCM should be, in this case, 6. So I'm going to multiply everything by 6. Now I'm going to do the steps here all in one, rather than show the division and everything. So you should get 6 divided by 2. You're going to get, so 6 divided by 2, you're going to get 3 minus 2x is equal to 2. All right, going to move the 3 to the other side, so you're going to get negative 2x is equal to negative 1. Divide both sides by negative 2, you should get 1/2. The other thing people usually like to do is something called common denominator. So let's say we start from the same question. 1/2 minus x over 3 is equal to 1/3. I know I could turn them all into 6. But to turn this one into 6, I need to multiply the bottom by 3 and the top by 3. Over here, I need to multiply the top and the bottom by 2. Top and the bottom by 2. And that's going to give me 3 over 6 minus 2x over 6 is equal to 2 over 6. All right. So at this point, I can move the 3 over 6 to the other side. I'll have negative 2x over 6 is equal to 2 minus 3, which is negative 1 over 6. Now this turns into another one of those cross multiplication questions where I can multiply both sides by 6. So if I multiply both sides by 6, I should get negative 2x is equal to negative 1. So x should be equal to 1/2. So you can see with this method, I'm still going to get the same answer, but it's taking me longer steps. Again, any method in mathematics is fantastic, but you also want to be as efficient as you possibly can. And you can see with this step, you are done much quicker. All right, let's move on. So some more examples, but this time, just like before, instead of having one variable on the top, I now have 2 terms. This does not change my strategy whatsoever. Your first step should always be in these situations, find your LCM. And my LCM, I have a 4, I have a 2, so my LCM is 4. So you're still going to multiply everything by 4. Everything by 4, which means 4x minus 5 plus, this one also has to be multiplied by 4, this one also has to be multiplied by 4. 4 is equal to 4 divided by 2, which is 2. Just like before, we saw that we have a number and a bracket, nothing in between them, so I can cancel out the outside 4. We talked about that earlier, leaving me with the x minus 5 plus 4 is equal to 2. We want to collect our like terms, right? So my like terms here, I've got a negative 5 plus 4 and a 2 on the other side of the equal sign. So if I do all that, so I've got negative 5 plus 4, which is negative 1. So x minus 1 is equal to 2. Move the minus 1 to the other side, becomes positive, so 2 plus 1, 3. So as you can see, my steps haven't changed. I'm still finding the LCM. I'm still multiplying everything by the LCM. You just have to remember, with multiple terms, these have to be able to distribute to both. Like my old Pokemon Go example, you gotta catch them all. All right, try part B yourself. I assume if you're back here, that means you paused it, you tried it, you're back. If you're not pausing or trying this stuff on your own, then I am just talking a bunch of nonsense. Sorry. Or this might look very, very hilarious. All right, so lowest common multiple, first step, which is 15. So multiply everything by 15. 15, 15, 15. All right. So negative 16 times 15 is negative 240. 15 divided by 5 is 3, so I got 3x, plus 15 divided by 3 is 5, so I get 5x. Collect our like terms. This becomes 8x. This is still negative 240. Divide both sides by 8, so you have x is equal to negative 30. If this is the answer you got, you are fantastic and a rock star. Last examples. So as you can see, throughout this time, I've been stepping up the difficulty level of these examples. So part C and D get even more difficult. But they're not really. Because once again, if we are following our steps, my first step should be find my lowest common multiple. So that's still going to be the first thing you're going to do. LCM, in this case, you have a 3 and a 5, should be 15. And once again, your first step is multiply everything. And when I say everything, remember, bracket around your 2 terms. This should be by 15, multiply. And I should multiply this by 15. The one thing you have to watch out for is you don't multiply the 2y or the 3 by 15. Because once again, it's inside a bracket. It's like being in a bubble, to use the COVID quarantine word set that we have learned this year and last. So they are in a bubble. So because they are in a bubble, they do not get popped by this 15. Insert bubble analogy here. All right. So you're going to have 15 y plus 2 over 3 is equal to 15 over 5, 2y plus 3. So then you're going to have 15 divided by 3, which is 5. So you're going to have 5y plus 2. 15 divided by 5, which is 3. 2y plus 3. Just like before, when you have a number on the outside of the bracket, you want to go back into your Pokemon trainer mode. Just use Pikachu yellow here. So pick up. Multiply with the y. Pick up. Multiply with the 2. Pick up. Multiply with the 2y. Pick up. Multiply with 3. I'll try saying pick up 10 times fast. All right, so you're going to get 5y plus 10 is equal to 6y plus 9. Bring your variables to the same side like before. Collect your like terms. So I'm going to bring the 6y to the other side. I told you the left side. You can bring it to the right side. Does not matter. Whichever you find easiest. Sorry, it seems I pressed my mute button. So you're going to bring the 5y or the 6y to the same side. So I'm going to bring the 6y in this case just so we can make it easy to find the same steps all the time. Move my variable to the same side. It's positive there, so it becomes negative here. I'm going to move the 10 to this side. It was positive over there, so it's negative over here. So negative 6y plus 5y is negative y. 9 minus 10, negative 1. Still not my final answer because we want it to be positive y. Little trick, you can turn the negative into a positive, which means you have to do the opposite to the other side as well. So if it's already negative there, it also turns positive. Another way of thinking of it is multiply both sides by negative 1 or divide both sides by negative 1. Both sides work. And finally, should have already unpaused this and tried it yourself. So let's take a look. Once again, my first step does not change. Lowest common multiple, which in this case is 15 once more. Why? Because you have a 3 and a 5, which 15 is the lowest. Let's multiply everything by 15. So 15. Don't multiply the bracket. Multiply the 2 by the 15. Multiply the 4 by the 15. All right. So let's break it down. I am going to get 15. Oops. Do not want to do that. There we go. Blooper. All right, so 15 times 2, which is 30. 30 divided by 3 is 10. All right, so out here should be a 10. 5x plus 6. 2 times 15 is 30. And then once more, you have 15 times 4, which is 60. And 60 divided by 5 is 12. So 12, x minus 2. Pokemon trainer mode, want to be the very best. Apologies, that's what happens when you're doing stuff in the background. So you want to be the very best. Multiply out like no one ever was. So you're going to go 50x plus, okay, so plus 60 is equal to 30 plus 12x minus 24. As usual, collect your like terms. So after moving things around, 12x to this side turns negative, so 50 minus 12, 38x is equal to 60 to this side, so 30 minus 24 is 6, minus 60 is negative 54. Divide both sides by the 38, which I can simplify by dividing the top and the bottom by 2, giving me negative 27 over 19, which I turn into a mixed fraction of negative 1, 8 over 19. And that is solving rational equations. I hope this has been helpful for everyone. Have a wonderful day.